Hello everyone. Welcome back. It is time for MRL Tier 1 action, and I am joined by Unicorn today. How are you today, Unicorn?
Oh, I'm doing good, thank you, Jeff. Very excited for this one after what was a brilliant race yesterday. A lot of brilliant races already here on the Red Bull Ring in Tier 1. It should be the best of the best, and let's see if they can provide the best race of the week.
Yeah, definitely. It's all been coming down to Tier 1. They have really... Well, we've had 3 amazing races this week. Tier 3 Americas and Tier 2 yesterday, and now, of course, we have the Tier 1 grid ahead of us. Now, just so everyone is aware, a little bit of a disclaimer ahead of the stream, there may be a little bit of lag coming from my end, so I am going to continue trying to stream this. However, if it does get to be very bad, please let us know in the chat. There might be a little bit of a stutter. Please let us know if it gets very bad, and we will most definitely switch that stream on over to our backup, which we will be happy to do. But it seems to be getting to a point where it's stable right now, so we'll just try to work with it and do what we can. So thank you everyone for your patience on that. Of course, Austria, 10 turns, 4.3 kilometers. It is a very fun circuit, a very fast racing circuit, a quick lap around here, DRS as well in the equation. And I think we're going to see a very tight grid lineup ahead of us today, Unicorn, with this Tier 1 grid. We will look ahead to next week for round 12. Britain, of course, following that. Hungary, Belgium, Italy, Singapore, Russia. We go to Japan, the United States, Mexico, Brazil. And then for the finale, we move on over to Abu Dhabi. Of course, massive shout out to our partners, Next Level Racing. You can check them out via the link in the chat. And of course, the panels down below on their website for some amazing sim racing rigs and gear. They've got wheel stands, motion sims, full rigs, portable rigs, foldable rigs. They have everything you need, and it all at a very good price range. Now, with that, we take a look at the Tier 1 standings. Paris leading things ahead of Value right now. Value the Red Bull in second position, with Shenjie right on the rear of him in third. Shenjie, the reigning Tier 1 champion. We'll see how these drivers are able to go ahead here in Austria. Now, it is Ferrari, Red Bull, and AlphaTauri leading the constructors in that order as well. So, a lot to be had here on circuit today. And we'll see who is going to have the best opportunities. We'll see what the weather is going to be like as well, Unicorn.
Yeah, the weather played a huge role in yesterday's race, so it would be very, very interesting, very exciting to see that sort of dynamic take hold of a race once again here. And Austria is somewhere that we can see lend itself to some weather and interchangeable conditions as well, because I think even we were surprised at how quickly that rain came in yesterday. It was dry 1 minute, the next it was absolutely tipping it down. So with that sort of uncertainty, it can really create for that dynamic race and that exciting race that we saw yesterday.
You know, I am going to ask you now, Unicorn, I'll tell the stream, we are going to switch to the backup stream. If you are able to get that going, Unicorn, that would be greatly appreciated. So everyone, just give us a quick 20 seconds, if not 10 seconds, and we'll be right back for qualifying, and we'll be good to go racing.
It should be working perfectly, Striff, if you want to say so, just to make sure everything's working all right, but someone could come across in chat as well.
Greatly appreciate the patience, everybody. Greatly appreciate that from everyone waiting. Well, we got that restarted really quick. Just want to make sure we don't have any lag for the stream, of course.
I think we've got everyone in as well, which is wonderful. So we can get everything dialed in. All the drivers are in, I think. So, although we just lost someone. But fingers crossed. They can find their way back into the W as quickly as possible. It is now crossing that on the hour mark. But with that being said, I think we're ready to get going.
This is a very, very unique, lineup of racers now that we have coming into this. I can see on the grid right now, we'll go down through the grid, of course, through qualifying. But I think we're just waiting on Sindako as Rutanius has come into the chat. Appreciate that. Appreciate the updates from everyone in the chat. We have a couple drivers on the grid today. Bottas Gang is here in a reserve capacity over at Renault. Now, Bottas Gang, for those that might remember from the beginning of the season, Bottas Gang was a full-time driver over at Ferrari. Paris was actually his replacement at Ferrari. Paris will be in that Ferrari today. Loeb Lotel has unfortunately decided to step down from his full-time racing seat over at Mercedes, and we are very sad to see him go, as I'm sure his teammate Alex Bitto will most definitely be missing him. He has a new replacement, and it is no stranger to the MRL. We have Matteo Langhe over at Mercedes now in a full-time capacity here in Tier 1. You might know him. His brother is Nicholas Langhe, full-time esports driver for, I think, announced today for Alpine, which is fantastic. So there's some developments on the grid. ZZ9 is back with us on the grid today under a different name. He has now assumed the name of Magnetar F1. So just a couple of updates on that front for everybody that is viewing along before we get ahead into racing action.
Yeah, I think we're ready to go. We've got everyone in, so we'll get everyone readied up. But yeah, a lot of changes to the grid and a lot of, like you said, exciting changes in, Matteo's return, etc. So a lot of, just changes to this grid that really, at this stage of the championship, shouldn't do too much for the drivers' standings, but for the constructors, Mercedes, they haven't had the best start that they could have. So if Matteo comes in and really shakes things up at the front, he could really drag that team a little bit higher than they are right now. Blotel, he scored 29 points over the course of his, career there down at Mercedes. But we move into qualifying, and we'll see how everything pans out. But yeah, just tell us if anything goes, anything needs changing with the stream. But I think we're all good. And qualifying, Striff, it's a very short lap. You mentioned it earlier. Qualifying here was super tight yesterday. The short lap means that everyone's fighting for such minuscule margins, and track limits as well can really plague these drivers.
Well, we have an 18-minute session for these drivers to get qualified. The lap around here for a lot of these racers is going to be in the 102s. I imagine we're going to see a lot of 102s in this grid today. From high 102s down to low 102s. We might even see a 101. I would love to see it. That'd be crazy. But we'll see what these drivers are able to do. Everyone's going to be able to get at least 4 runs in here, if or 3 depending on what they're doing.
Yeah, a 1 would be absolutely incredible. But yeah, most of these drivers, they'll definitely go for the 3 rounds. The thing is, you sometimes see drivers, they might go around sort of twice on their opening set of tyres if they, invalidate the first run. Because you want to get a bunker in with those, track limits. It's so easy to invalidate through a number of these corners. It's not just 1 or 2 tricky corners. There is a lot of places to just sort of tip it over the line and just completely void the entire lap. So sometimes you see drivers go a little bit.
I'm being told.
Oh,
ahead of this race, everyone is saying, what do you think, Striff? What do you think is going to happen with the weather? I said, well, you know what I'd really like to see? I'd really like to see some dry followed by full wet conditions. And according to the engineers, well, ladies and gentlemen, that is exactly what we are going to be seeing in this race. We were being told that we are going to be having dry to heavy wet conditions here around the Red Bull Ring for Tier 1. And that just has me beyond excited. I am grinning. We have Valu now on an outlap. He is in the Red Bull. Of course, the Red Bull Ring, I think he'll be the first driver to set a time.
Yeah, and I think a few drivers as well were hoping for wet weather as well. So we've got that sort of hybrid race, where it's dry to wet. And I wonder what sort of setups everyone's going for here. You've got to combat both scenarios here, and well, here goes Valu starting his flying lap, whatever he's chosen, whether it be a dry or a wet setup. Well, see how it benefits him, but there it is. There's that invalidation straight out of turn 1, just that little bit too far to the wide, and well, the lap is already done and dusted. Next up on the list, who is flying? I think Vexit in the Racing Point, coming down into turn 3. He's still valid. So at the moment, he'll be the first person to set a lot of time. But that's what we were talking about. It's so easy, Striff, to invalidate around here, and it really affects qualifying.
Oh, definitely. It definitely can affect qualifying. Exit into this double left-hander. We might see 3, maybe even 4 different compounds of tire in this race, depending on when that weather comes, because we might see inners and full wet tires. It is a very, well, it's a quick lap, but a long race around Austria.
Well, I think I saw, 20 minutes being thrown around. So it'd be interesting to see if anyone tries to start on mediums as Vexit at 102.7. 102.6 from Bottas Gang instantly throws caution to the wind. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see as Tim at 102.8 comes out here. But I think whether, we could see that sort of... If you start on the mediums, and that means you can one stop to the rain, not necessarily obviously to the end, but one stop to the rain, that could be really powerful if the rain comes too late for the softs. That could really throw a lot of these soft drivers a really big curveball. Jake, he's reserving today for the Red Bull squad at 102.8. Prix at 107.8. There goes Dayson at 102.4. Really starting to bring the times down now. We're on board with Paris. He obviously top of the standings right now, and well, they'll be looking to get on top of that timing tower as well as he comes through 7 out of 8 now, down towards the penultimate corner.
One great thing to talk about here with Jake is this is one of, well, I have to say, really quick to interrupt. Matteo Longe comes through into the 2nd position. Paris now to the line. P4 for him, a 102.667, his first run of this session. But I wanted to take a moment to talk about the fact that Jake is a Tier 2 driver for Red Bull. This will be one of the first times this season we see the combined constructors being utilized, in the fact that that is a Tier 2 driver in a Tier 1 seat in the same team, meaning that Jake isn't just scoring points today, well, for himself, but he's scoring points today for, of course, the Red Bulls, whereas normally we would see the reserve drivers score points for the Pirates or the reserves. But Jake, as he is already full-time for Red Bull, this will give him an opportunity to maintain those points in the Red Bull team. Yeah,
and with a full wet race, that could really, he could score some points here. It's, unprecedented conditions. You don't know what's going to happen. It could be very unpredictable. Safety cars can really throw a race to one person or take it away from another in terms of how the strategy plays out. So Jake here, we'll have to see where he lands. He's currently beating a few drivers. He's ahead of Richie Sindaco and Freeware. So we'll have to see where he comes. But right now, 10th place for him. And I think the Red Bull squad, considering he is that in Tier 2, will be quite happy with his performance right now. Milan, I think. Jeff Ritchie as well, splitting the 2 Alfa Romeos. They had a pretty strong outing in qualifying last night. 2nd and 4th if memory serves. Here comes Alp to the line on 103 flat. But Dayson's still on pole position. His teammate now dropped down to 4th. It was 1-2 at one point for them.
Just getting an idea for where everyone's going to land here. It's so early in this qualifying, but already things are so tight from 1st all the way down to 14th position. It's less than a second. Sindaco, well, actually, it's all the way to 15th. Sindaco, that 1 second. Yoda's in there now as well. I believe Valu, the Red Bull, beginning a run.
Yeah, and well, his championship run so far has been very, very impressive. Still, he hasn't got a win to his name, Striff. He's been on the podium 6 times, never on the top spot at the end of things. He's definitely got the pace. He's definitely got, the consistency. But he has never got all 25 points from a race weekend. So let's see. With the changeable conditions, does he get his first win today?
Well, this race is about to absolutely explode. This is gonna, if you don't know, if you're just tuning in, we are about to have a dynamic weather Tier 1 race around the Red Bull Ring. We are going to see dry, light, and heavy rain from what we've been told by the weatherman and the engineers.
Yeah, I think Valu He dropped his lap, but he's going around again now. Dayson's on a flyer as well in the Alfa Romeo. See what he can do. Can he improve? A 102.4 right now. And that was just his banker laps drift. So can we see someone go into the 101s? It seems unlikely, but at the same time, very possible with this grid that we've got together this evening.
We'll have to see what the tire evolution, or the track evolution, we'll say, for this qualifying session. We're only at the halfway point as far as our clock, which we know we're actually a little bit, I think, ahead as far as our clock is concerned of where these drivers are. Dayson now coming through turn 7 now, turn 8.
Yeah, flying down towards 9 and 10, and well, it's been Brainstew, his teammate, he's been disqualified. He's had some sort of incident. Valu fastest at 102.3. Dayson takes it straight back though by 0.003 of a second. Domi, he's not far behind at 102.4. But that gap between first and second strip, Valu was on top spot for just a moment, and then it got snatched away from him ever so quickly and by ever so little.
Trying to get an idea of what has gone on with that Alfa Romeo.
Bitto, he's just crossed a 102.5. Again, just 7 thousandths or 8 thousandths, sorry, behind Vexit. So this grid already very, very tight as we come through. Let's see, I think ZZ9 or Magnetar as he is now has come back into the pit lane. We're seeing, trying to work out if anyone right now is on a fly. I think Richie will be the next to start one in the McLaren.
There is a lot of traffic on this circuit right now. Look at the double left-hander on the track map. There is so many cars in and around sector 2 and 3 in the split. But as you said, Richie, he is on the move now. He's coming into turn 3, and this is probably the most difficult turn of the circuit, the most difficult traction zone for a lot of these drivers. Can definitely play a big role on the opening lap as well, given the good long run into it. He is not flying now. He is just chilling here as Al moves ahead.
Yeah, definitely dropped the lap. Yoda as well. He's invalidated his next attempt at a flyer, and well, we're under that 10-minute mark. Like you said, the clock is a little bit out of sync, but still under that 10-minute mark, there is plenty of time to get in at least another 3 runs. So even if someone had just been waiting in the pit lane, really trying to work out what setup they're going to run here to counteract those weather conditions. Bottas gang in the reserve seat for the Renault, currently situated in 11th place. He's coming down into the run, down into turn 4, and well, he's doing a lot better than Bottas did through there earlier or last year, as he comes through turn 6 now, using as much of the exit curbing as he dares. Don't want to invalidate through there. Now running down towards 9. And well, there's an invalidation, and he comes swinging back into the pit lane. Shenjie yet to set a lap time striff. Someone we both know to be very fast, third in the standings right now. Started his first, well, a valid flyer at least. He hasn't got a time on the board yet.
Well, Shenjie right now, reigning Tier 1 champion. Also, I do believe there is a prediction going for whether or not he will take pole here today.
Well, he's certainly, one Richie, a 102.2.
Very nice coming out of the McLaren. So that is now provisional pole. We'll see who has the ability to get rid of that. Shenjie very well might be able to here as he comes into the penultimate turn.
Well, it's now an MRL record that he's got to beat. Richie taking that one. Here goes Shenjie though to the line, and a 102.2 as well, but not quite close enough. But it's certainly a good first lap on the board. Valu, he's flying. Can he do anything about it? He's slower through Sector 1, but Sector 1's not the be-all and end-all here when it's such a small margin. There's only 2 turns in it, and one of those is very, very flat out. as it were. Coming through turn 6 now. Sector 2, a lot of time to be won or lost here. And there we go. He's found a little bit of time. Find about a 10th, and this should put him ahead of Shenjie. Can he find time through Sector 3, though, to put him ahead of Richie? Through the final corner now in the Red Bull, just about keeping it within the white lines. To the line, 102.2, and it's again, it is ahead of Shenjie, but it's not enough to dethrone Richie. I think if he'd had a Sector 1 similar to his first lap, he would have actually got that pole position, Striff, or at least the provisional pole.
Here comes Paris now through Sector 3. A little bit of traffic in his way in the form of exit here as he comes through turn 9. Very tight to that inside curb. Coming through now the final turn. What is the time going to be from the Ferrari? Is it going to be enough to beat Richie? No. It is good for 11th position here. It's a 102.636 from him. Who is going to be able to undo that monstrous time from the McLaren?
Well, the other Ferrari, Domi, he's looking to give it a crack as he comes down through into the penultimate corner. I can see a sector time from him, but it's not looking like a bad lap. But there is that infamous invalidation, and well, you invalidate there, and well, you just invalidate the next lap as well.
Alex Bitto, a 102.519 is the time from him. 7th on this grid still for him. Matteo Longe in the Mercedes. We haven't seen a lot of him, of course, as he's making his full-time debut at Mercedes today, taking over duties for Lil Blotel, coming out of turn 4.
And well, we were speaking to him before the race. He seems pretty excited to be back. And well, that's not a bad improvement, as the close proximity of all these lap times on this grid right now, this could see him fly up the order into the top 5, or just outside of it now as he comes out of the final corner. Where is it? There it is, P5, a 102.4. Very well to put together lap time for the new Mercedes driver.
And the calm before the storm. Well, Richie, 102.216, the provisional pole time. The McLaren driver currently on an out lap coming through turn 4. Everybody else either on an in lap or, well, flying. Now, Bottas gang is on the move, but he has blown it through, I think, turn 1 right there. So he will have to wait and go around once again. A few more drivers jumping out of the pit lane now. We see the Red Bull of Jake exiting the pit lane.
And I think it's fair to say, Striff, he's doing pretty well right now. He's currently ahead of the guy who's in P1 in the driver's standings. So it's either going very well for Jake or really poorly for Paris. But either way, Jake will be no doubt happy with 11th place, especially if the medium tyres do prove to be a very powerful starting compound with that rain incoming in the race. Alp right now, he is coming through out of turn 4 through 5 and now into 6 in the McLaren. We'll see what he can muster up with this lap. And he's found a little bit of time, which could see him again. This grid is all so tight, and just that over 1/10 improvement can see him gain a lot of positions.
Ooh.
Oh, that's a nasty invalidation, just too wide. Where would it have put him? I think he binned it at the line there. Didn't want to set it, but well, it was looking so good for him. Richie, he's invalidated his latest attempt. Valu, he's just started.
Well, this is going to be crucial for Valu now. We'll have to see if Richie has the ability to set another time here. Is he going to come around to set? Yes, he is gearing up to run it. So Valu will cross first. Richie behind him. Richie currently holding on to that pole position. So Valu now into turn 4. The Red Bull here around the Red Bull ring, of course. And there he goes. He's had a big snap, a big spin coming out of turn 4. And if we can just get, I gotta get our dear Yoda an invitation here. Excuse me. But yes, that is not what you want to see.
Yeah, very, very unfortunate. It wasn't the best Sector 1 for him either, and that, even starting P2, that knock to the confidence. We said it yesterday, it didn't affect Neon. He had a spin in qualifying. He managed to sort of get that back. And, well, Richie's on for an almost identical lap to the one he set provisional pole with. Shenjay's on an out lap. Milan's in P4 right now. I believe he just set that 102.3. And we've got Dayson, Matteo all on out laps. Domi, Vexit, Brito. Oh, and Richie's invalidated around the final corner. And it would have been an improvement. It would have been a 102.1. But he's invalidated around the final corner. Dayson, what can he do? Can he take advantage of it? The session is over for us. No one's taken the flag, though. So I think that there might be an opportunity.
Oh, well, he had just begun, and then I think he just blew it. Shenjay.
Yeah, he will be crossing the line before Dayson. Let's see what he can do in the AlphaTauri. He's actually down coming out of Sector 2. Maybe a bad Sector 3 in his first lap will have been... He'll be able to recover it here, but either way, it's half a tenth faster than it would have been. He's navigated his way around there. It's a 102.5, not what he would have been wanting. Oh my goodness! There's been a massive crash between Dayson and I believe that's Jake in the Red Bull on the final corner. I don't quite know what caused it, but both cars are very much out of this session in the dying stages.
Well, there was a huge issue on track there. Oh man, these qualifying sessions, I feel as though near the end there's always some kind of issue.
Magnetar failing to improve. Matteo, sorry, Magnetar's below him in the timing tower. Matteo, though, 7th place will be his best starting position. Richie's invalidated his latest run. Freeware, I think...
He's out of fuel.
Yeah, he's on his way back to the pits. And I think that concludes qualifying, Striff.
Well, the top 10 right now, top 11 actually. The top 11 drivers in this race are separated by 0.3 of a second here around the Red Bull Ring for this one. The top, well, from first all the way down to 19th, it is less than 0.8. It's actually half a second, the gap from first down to 18th. Welcome to Austria. We are going to be having everything thrown at us in this one, from dry conditions to light weather conditions to heavy rain conditions, hopefully, and well, we'll just have to see if we get some safety cars as well. Of course, get those predictions in the chat, and big shout out to our fantastic partners, Next Level Racing, ahead of this one, because this race is about to kick off.
Yeah, that top 4 all within a tenth of each other, looking at down this grid. Pretty much everyone within half a second of each other in qualifying. With the weather that we know is forecast for this one, Striff, we are in for an absolutely incredible race here at Tier 1. It should start dry with Jeffrey Ritchie on pole valu alongside him. Neither really getting the last lap that they would have wanted, so maybe we could have gone even faster. We did see a 102.1 come out of Ritchie. It's just invalid. Shenjay and Milan on the second row in third and fourth, respectively. Dayson in P5. Domi, Matteo, Magnetar, Paris and Vexit round out the top 10, and then we'll go through the rest of this grid in just a moment. But what a qualifying session, Striff, and well, this is shaping up to be a very, very exciting race.
Well, with a grid this tight, with conditions that nobody's really going to have a clear picture of until they hit, of course, I think this is going to be a potential bid for race of the season, and we haven't even gotten to the formation lap. But with 18 drivers separated by less than half a second, there's a lot that can happen when a grid is that tight. A lot. Of course, there's a lot of patience, I think, that's going to be required in a grid like this as well, with DRS playing a role here around the Red Bull Ring. But it is now time for all of these drivers to finalize setups. And here's a good question, and we spoke a little bit about it a couple weeks ago with rain conditions and how you set up your car, and how do you set up your car for a race where you might just have half and half, and might be just, what are you going to have at the end? And we're just going to have to see how some of these setups come through and play here, because that's something else we didn't really cover in the qualifying. These drivers might not have been running the most optimized dry setups, where they might have tweaked something for these wet conditions. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, it's it's just going to be telling when you get to that wet weather who is, appears to be faster. Obviously, a lot of that we can't tell whether it's down to setup or just driver prowess in those wet weather conditions. Obviously, some drivers favor it more than others, but qualifying around here, it's pretty important given that the soft medium in normal dry conditions for a full dry race would be the typical strategy. But yeah, I don't see there's a side to both arguments. Take a dry setup, do very well in qualifying and be good at the start of the race, or take a more balanced setup so at the end of this race, because it's heavy rain, it's not light rain, it's heavy rain, so we'll have to see how that plays out. And I think the tyre choice here by Jacob Bottas going sort of reflects what we're about to go into, because softs in 12th and 13th, the medium soft would usually be very powerful, but I think they think that the rain is going to be soon enough that the softs work out well for them. But the rest of those guys outside the top 10 on the mediums, with the exception of Yoda, P16 hard compound tires. That's a very bold strategy choice. He will get to the rain in them, but what's his pace like going to be at the start?
Well, that's the question right there, is what's the pace going to be like at the start? And there's such gambles coming out of this grid right now when you look at these tires. I look at Yoda on these hards, Jake Bottas on these softs. It's a very interesting situation as Richie comes into this 9th turn now, and this grid is really gonna it's gonna be an electric race start, I think, to say the least. We have Rainstew at the rear of this grid, only the one hard runner, 12 soft runners, and the rest on the mediums.
Yeah, very, very diverse tire selection. And, well, it's just a case of when that rain is coming, because I don't think there's going to be too many visual signs. Yesterday, it was very sunny one lap. 2 laps later, completely pitch black for the game, and rain throwing it down everywhere. But we are ready for the Austrian Grand Prix here in Tier 1. 3, 4, 5 red lights. We are going to have a little bit of a delay. There goes the revs. You can see already everyone away. Overtake enabled straight away, and the energy, the fuel mix will be straight up to Rich, as well as Valu finding off Shenji, looking around the outside into turn 1. Shenji not quite finding it. Domi, he's looking at Milan out of turn 1 as well. He picks up P4. Milan down into P5. And the Haas driver, can he find it around the outside of turn 3? I don't think so. Domi late enough on the brakes. I think he's given the Red Bull of Valu a little bit of a tap. You can see there Shenji shaping up to the outside of the track. Milan now with a brilliant run compared to the Ferrari. Can he find it around the outside of Domi down into turn 4? Behind them, there's a few positions. Paris, he's climbing Vexit as well. But it's still Milan looking around the outside of Domi. I don't think he's found the move. Bitto, Vexit dropping like a stone as Jake comes around him.
Vexit had a big snap coming out of turn 4 there. Got on the grass, so he had to recover a little bit quick, and he dropped a couple positions. Richie right now off to an absolute rocket launch, and he is really being hunted now by Valu. Valu not happy about this. The Red Bull wanting to get him a little bit closer. Shenji, Domi, Milan, everyone in formation now for the first lap here as Jake drops a couple of positions. But it has been a fairly clean start here. A little bit of timing tower trickery with the intervals at the very least on my end. Paris right now on the rear of the Mercedes Mateo. Looking for that inside. He thinks better of it. Patient on the brakes into turn 3.
Yeah, a lot of close battling. Bitto on the mediums under a little bit of pressure from the Racing Point of Vexit behind on the softs. Can he hold him off down into turn 4? He can. But yes, this grid's still very, very tight. And we will have DRS in the opening stages. It's not a full wet race all the way throughout. So we will have DRS next lap. And, well, right now we're going to have a massive DRS train with the exception of the leader. Richie absolutely blasting away at the front.
Brainstew getting a move on Jake done. Jake in the Red Bull, a good chunk of damage on that front right now as I took a closer look, and he is going to enter that pit lane near grazing the Haas of Tim as Haas. Well, Tim actually, I think, nearly hit Jake there coming through the 9th turn. Paris still hunting down Mateo. It's one of the tightest gaps on grid. DRS now enabled, but the train is in full procession. Coming into turn 3, Vexit on the rear of Bitto. Is there going to be a move here? He's utilizing that DRS to his full advantage into turn 3. A little bit later on the brakes. Is this going to be the move done for the Racing Point? Begs it. Not happy about being on the grass earlier. He gets that move into 11.
Nicely done from him. The soft tires, that'll obviously be a little bit quicker at this stage of the race for him. Only 11 drivers on them now. Jake already having come into the pit stop in that Red Bull, of course, to hop onto the medium compounder tire. And that, you know, we'll see how that plays out for him, because obviously we'll get that tire choice out of the way. But with the wet compounds, if they make an appearance, which we believe they will at some stage in the race, we'll see how that one pans out for him. No penalties to speak of as of yet. We're fairly early in this session, and obviously Tier 1, you'd expect it to be the fewest of them all. But things starting to space themselves out a little bit now between the drivers. Paris still, though, hunting down the Mercedes of Matteo, who's dangerously close to dropping out of DRS range on Dayson ahead.
Brains 2 now with a move on Alp. He was just patiently waiting for an opportunity. Alp with a very, very late dive in turn 3. He just went deep there. Valu, Shenjay are exchanging in turn 4 here. Shenjay on the outside right now. Shenjay wants to take this Red Bull for second position. It's wheel to wheel. Oh, Valu around the outside, holding still. There's still a little bit of... Oh, his car was still next to Shenjay's rears. Valu has dropped position into the gravel, into 6th position. Wow.
Very unfortunate for Valu there. Shenjay's car just really unsettled coming out of turn 6. You just saw it wobble, basically, into Valu's car, and it just sent the Red Bull into the gravel trap, not where he wants to be, and he needs to get his head back into the game now. He's got to, you know, suppress any anger until after the other 31 laps are done so he can defend, because he's got Paris behind him, his championship rival now. He was on, you know, for a much better point tool than the Ferrari. Now, one position separates the pair of them, and Paris is all over the gearbox of the Red Bull. So that's not what Valu wants his rearview mirrors full of. Shenjay, though, on a real charge. He hasn't let it phase him. The incident is close to Richie massively. Richie was over a second ahead now. Barely at all, but Shenjay's car looks really unsettled, Striff. Maybe a wet setup, but surely it would be a little bit more stable than this.
Was a big snap coming out of him there, and it caused Valu. I think they were having a tight battle. Valu on that outside. Shenjay wanting to hold that position as hard as he can, and we've seen it many times through Tier 1 racing and all the MRL racing. But now Richie has this AlphaTauri in his rearview mirrors, and I think he might be correct. I think the setup that he's running might be catering a little bit more to wet conditions, given that instability. But now he's still holding well with Richie.
Well, the thing is, what if Shenjay is running a dry setup that's a little bit slidier, and, you know, that makes it faster? Right now, he has a little look up the inside of turn 3 on Richie, but he doesn't go for it. But at the same time, if it's a slidey setup in the dry, it could be an even worse setup in the wet. So we'll see how the AlphaTauri fares when those wet conditions come. He's looking around the outside now of 4 on Richie. Whether he can find a move on the exit, he's really just found his groove at this stage of the race. And he's putting a lot of pressure on this McLaren P1. The gap between the top 4 in qualifying was less than a 10th. Now it's very close between these guys. What's happened to Freeware? Freeware's dropping like a stone. His teammates putting a lot of pressure on the leader. Freeware's looking very, very slow. He's missing an end plate. Here comes Richie, the other Richie, reserving in the Williams. He's got a huge portion of that front wing missing.
Yeah, that's really bad damage for Freeware, and he's in a very similar position to Jake now. He will have to come in and get that fixed. Now, he might come out and start fighting with Jake. We look at Shenjay, less than half a second. Of course, it's pretty well less than half a second between all these drivers right now, but Shenjay is trying to put a little bit of pressure on this McLaren, and Shenjay, a driver right now who's just holding around half his battery. Here we go now. Here's the run with a great exit out of turn 3. That DRS in full utilization. Richie doesn't have it, of course, being the leader. That puts Shenjay in the lead of this race. Now, what does Richie do? Does he hold Shenjay? Does he drop into Domi? What happens here? Valu and Paris now wheel to wheel. Paris, 6th position for him.
Yeah, side by side for a long time there, but they kept it clean, and Paris comes out on top. He'll be happy with the move. And the Ferrari slots himself up into P6. Currently, Ferrari doing very well. 3rd and 6th, respectively. And I'm sure they'll be happy with that one. Matteo Longe, he picks up a 3-second time penalty in P8, the first of the top 10 to do so. A few sprinkled throughout this grid, but nothing too bad to write home about right now. The two Renaults, they're getting nice and close. Bottas gang right on the rear of Magnetar, the reserve looking to overtake the full-time driver as they come up towards turn 3. I don't think he's going to go for the move, but Magnetar might have a little look at Matteo. Very, very close, but again, nothing coming off of it. Domi as well, he's closing down on Richie for P2. Shenjie really costing the pair of them a little bit with that move up into lead of things.
Well, it's anyone's win still in this race. The real action hasn't even begun yet. The rain hasn't started to come down. All 20 drivers still very much in this one. And we haven't seen any drama yet in the form of safety cars or otherwise, knock wood. And everything is shaping up to be quite nice, given the strategies we're seeing play out here.
It is getting darker though, Striff. Clouds are starting to form. Apparently the rain is only a few laps away, according to some of the race engineers in the chat, and it is getting visibly darker. And well, I think the drivers moments away from experiencing conditions that aren't quite as comfortable. The softs, they should make it. If the rain came as quickly as it did yesterday, the softs should make it to that intermediate period, if that is indeed what we're going to see. But how long will the inters last before it's full wets and the blue wall tires come out? That is the challenge that the drivers are going to face. Richie, so close to the rear of Shenjie for P1. But he's not been able to take that position back. We're on lap 9 of 36. And once just the cloud coverage is just getting thicker by the second.
The last lap we came through here, it was still sunshine. Now we are looking at a very different situation as the clouds have set in heavily and things are getting quite dark, and the rain is going to start pouring any moment, I imagine. I am staying on board right now with Domi as he continues to hunt down Richie. I'll jump back to Dason for a moment as well. We're waiting to see just that little trickle into the cockpits of these racers, guys and gals in the chat, and we just want to take a moment to thank everybody viewing along on the stream, and of course, massive shout out to our partners, Next Level Racing. Check them out via their website with the link in the chat, or of course the panels down below.
Yeah, Richie dropping off of Shenjie slightly. Domi now, well, he's just sadly got that gearbox glitch where it's just always maxed out. But behind him, Milan under increasing pressure from Dason for P4 as well. This top 5, it's really just going to be, as it stands, down to the wire. Nothing is separating these drivers. We've got DRS all the way down from P1 all the way through to P14. Alp down there in P15, the break in the chain. Matteo Longe, another 3-second time penalty on his first drive for Mercedes after taking over from Lil Blotel.
He's not the only one. Alp with 6 seconds as well, and we've had an issue here.
Richie.
Like, that is a Williams looking the wrong way. That is not what you want to have at all.
Yeah, up down through turn 3 for the leaders, and I don't know if Matteo, he picked up a warning or a penalty, but now Bottas, Magnetar, in the Renault, up the inside into turn 3. This is breaking the DRS train. They've had a huge fight here. Something has cost the Mercedes time, and I don't think it was purely just the Renault coming up his inside, but now around the outside, the Mercedes into turn 4. Can he make it stick? It's a tricky place to overtake. It's just to keep it stuck in front of the other car, but he has managed it. And a really beautiful move to take back the position. Magnetar gonna have a little look up the inside, but nothing coming of it. It was a very valiant effort, but a brilliant defense from the Renault. Speaking of Renaults not having brilliant defenses, Bottas Gang's just dropped a couple of positions to Vexit and Bitto alike.
Yeah, Bitto's on the move now on these mediums. The mediums, I think they're really starting to come into a little bit of pace compared to these softs now as we come into lap 12. And we'll have to see how this plays out. We still haven't seen any rain No drizzling yet as we come through turn 2. Matteo still defending Magnetar now. Magnetar on the inside. Vexit has the front row seats. Magnetar up the inside on Matteo. Gets that move done. Where's Vexit? Does he have a run on this Mercedes? He has a good jolt with that DRS and utilization right now. Bido can see it. We're on board with him. He's watching his teammate get taken for 9th. Up the inside of turn 4. Does this expose him? Well, it's going to give Bido 10th. He's now on the outside of Matteo. What an exchange we have just seen here. Bido on these mediums now. He is in 10th. And he wants to continue keeping that pressure on that racing point.
Yeah, very, very nice stuff from everyone involved. Kept it clean. And well, Matteo, big spin. There's a spin from Bottas gang as well. Both cars sliding.
Well,
I don't know if this is tire wear or what. Track temperature cooling because of the clouds, but
Bottas gang, Unicorn, I had a view of this, my friend, and I'll tell you, Bottas gang, I think there was an issue. There was a tap. A car went around, an end plate came off. We have a yellow flag now through Sector 1. I believe that's Richie slow up through into turn 3.
It's raining. Rain is starting to fall, and these soft tires, they're at the end of their lifespan, so how much grip are they going to have as we go into things with the wet conditions? Magnetar Vexit. They're not going to let it stop them. The racing point looking for it around the outside of the Renault now. The inside down into turn 6. And what a beautiful shot we've got of it. And now coming out of the corner, I think Vexit's just ahead. And he has made that move stick. But Magnetar, a brilliant run. Just not quite enough to challenge the racing point for the position. Bito's on his inside, coming down later on the brakes. A very, very brave move for the Spaniard. But bravery is rewarded. And now, well, these mediums really taking a hold of the race. He might even get Vexit down into turn 1 here. He's not going to be brave enough for that one. It's a risky spot. Turn 3, much more like it for him in his mind. As they climb the hill through turn 2. Here he goes around the outside. Up for the inside for third corner. And there he goes in the Mercedes. Making it look as easy as you like. Magnetar as well. Can he find a look? Oh my goodness, who is that? Sindaku getting very squirrely in the back. And Brainstew. He's on the mediums as well. He finds 10th place. And these soft tires really struggling, Striff.
Magnetar, yeah, he had a bit of a snap, I'll say, coming out of turn 3. Brainstew getting an easy position there as Magnetar. He thought he might have had an opportunity at Vexit. You can see Brainstew right now in the rear of Vexit. Vexit struggling a little bit with these wet conditions. Brainstew doing a little bit better on the mediums right now. These mediums are really showing great pace, even with the rain coming down. I wouldn't be surprised to see Brainstew go around again. Here comes Vexit. I think he's on his way into the pit lane. Yes, he is. And there are a few other drivers who have opted to do the same, as Paris and Balu have come in. Shenjay, Domi, everyone's staying out. It was Paris and Balu, the first two. And they're going for the inners.
Well, the rain's coming down, but DRS still enabled. It seems a tad early, Striff. And, well, for the soft runners, it's getting challenging out there. Who is this? Someone struggling down the hill towards, I think Magnetar might have had an issue. It's Tim around the outside in the Haas. Renault not moving particularly quickly, but defending on the inside. You could see just the slight, I think the soft tires, they're pretty much done. Domi's picked up a penalty at some point in the top order of things, but Richie's dropped 2 positions in the space of about 2 laps as well. With the Renault continuing the place, and there goes DRS.
Dason's taking an end plate off of that McLaren. Dason is with wing damage now. He went into the rear of Richie here. And I'm not sure as to why that happened. Might have just slid. But everyone, I think, is coming into the pit lane now. Things are about to get very, very, very busy as Shenjay, Domi, Milan all into the pit lane. Is anyone brave enough to stay out here? I don't think anyone's staying out now.
Where does this put Paris? He's leading the intermediates right now. He wasn't really in high point scoring positions a moment ago, but could have pushed.
Has he just undercut this entire field?
He has.
Paris has just undercut the entirety of this field with the intermediate compound tires. Valu is going with him. Where is Valu here? Well, he's got a Ferrari to contend with. Domi's out in front. It's the Ferraris leading the race right now. 1 and 2 on the lead lap, on the lead pit stop. Valu doesn't like it. He's going around the outside into turn 3. He does not want to let Domi keep him away from Paris here. And Shenji's on the rear of him, and that is just not good for the Red Bull. But I have to say, Paris really won with that one.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also interesting that Valu and Shenji are now fighting once again. We saw them come together earlier in the race, and Shenji a little bit of a snap, a little bit unsettled, and we wondered whether it was a, you know, a slidey setup, whether it's catered to the dry, the wet, whatever. Here, Valu coming through this section here, right out of turn 6. It's definitely a shaky setup for Shenji. He is really struggling now in that AlphaTauri, and I think that setup was more catered towards the dry strip and someone who might have had a similar problem. It's not Yoda, it must be his teammate, the other Williams, who is lapped. Richie here, really struggling.
Look at how the pit stops have shaken up this field. The timing, we've been told that this weather is going to get even heavier, so this might not be the last pit stop we see. We're halfway through, almost halfway through this race. And the rain is now fully set in here to the Red Bull Ring here around Austria. And it's these conditions that really start to bring out a little difference in driver as well.
Yeah, Racing Point engineer Routanius coming across in the chat saying that we are going to see those tires drift. Those wet weather, full wet weather compounds are going to be out. We're going to switch from the Inters at some point to the blue ones. So just a case of when, how long, and who makes the best call. Because if you make a bad one, we saw it, you know, I cast my mind back to France drift, where we saw, I think it's tier 2, if my memory serves me well. Everyone make very much the wrong call in wet weather conditions. You don't want to be making the same sort of mistake here in tricky conditions. Everyone's made the right decision now. Paris, obviously, the best one. But everyone's made the right decision at the right time. But if you go onto the wrong tires, we've seen it so many times, it can really just ruin a race.
Valu 1.4 seconds on the rear of the Ferraris right now, as Domi is just shy of 1 second on his teammate Paris. Shenji, Milan, Richie, Vexit, all in this train on the rear of the Red Bull.
I think everyone's just taking it a little bit carefully right now. Domi does have that penalty, but the Ferraris 1-2 with 1.5 seconds to the car behind. This is a brilliant race so far for the Scuderia. They have got to be, I mean, Strip, you could tell us yourself, but I imagine the Ferrari squad pretty happy with this one so far. Obviously, halfway through, still plenty of time for it to go someone else's way or to improve for the Ferraris, and everyone else is doing well in this race. But right now, they're looking very comfortable in lead of things.
Domi is showing great pace right now in these intermediate conditions, and he does have a penalty. His mission right now is to hold his teammate ahead of him, Paris, without, of course, bringing Valu too close, and, well, hopefully maintaining a 3-second gap and not taking any further penalties. We're not done with this race yet, with this stint, right? We still have that full wet stint. This grid order could very well change. It's about strategy, the right calls at the right times. Valu really not having a good time out of turn 3 right here.
Yeah, and with how quickly we see that, you know, rain can come down here in Austria, I wonder how quickly we're going to see it transition from light to heavy. It's already, you know, there's a visible shine now to the surface of the track with the, you know, the water settling and the track getting progressively wetter as we go through this. But how long until it is the time to come into those wets? Because it's getting worse quickly, Striff. It's really changing.
I feel like every time I see Shenji in these conditions, that car wants to go for a big ride into a wall coming through turn 7 and 8. I don't know what that setup is, but he's wrestling a bull. It would certainly seem in that AlphaTauri.
Yeah, it's just a case of Can he hold on? He's in P4 right now. A very nice spot to be in. A lot of points on offer. But at the same time, could he have done more with a more balanced setup right now? All race he seems to have been struggling a little bit. But it certainly had the pace in the dry. It just doesn't seem to have the pace here in the wet as the Ferraris continue to extend their lead. They are getting further and further away from the rest of this field, lap after lap.
Well, we saw Valu struggle in Baku with the rain. He crashed, we saw in that race, with a dominant lead. And, well, we'll see what Shenji is able to do with this Red Bull now. It's the sister car approaching rapidly, even with the unstable setup we've been looking at with Shenji. He is showing great pace in comparison to that Red Bull ahead, and these Ferraris, 2.5 seconds the gap.
Yeah, it's incredible that they've got this wet weather pace, and that right there, because Paris, he's top of the standings right now. We know he's got a lot of pace, and here goes Shenji up the inside of turn 3. A little bit of an interruption here, but what a move. And Valu, Shenji, they have come together once this race. This time it's a bit more successful for the pair of them. But Valu almost empty on the battery, really burning it. Shenji a little bit more to play with as Valu goes a little bit too quickly into turn 4. Has to go a little bit wide to avoid rear-ending the AlphaTauri, but that's cost them even more time to the Ferraris ahead.
Well, the question is now, is Shenji going to pull a gap or close this gap to the Ferraris? Because the Ferraris right now, with Valu in that third slot, have been showing themselves on another level. Right now, Milan's starting to catch up with Valu a little bit. Shizou versus SMM driver here. We got Domi out in second for SMM as well, with Paris for VSR. We got a bunch of esports contending drivers in here for some of those Twitter teams.
Yeah, and it just, goes to show the pace of this grid when you got everyone, getting these tags on the name. It seems every week we've got another 1 or 2. And everyone just, it goes to show that the pace here is recognized, not just by us and those watching at home, but everyone else who's just in other racing communities. This grid is absolutely rapid. And I think Shenji, he doesn't have one of those tags at the start of his name. He is closing to the Ferraris, not immensely. His setup might be unstable, but it does seem to be working for him. He's shaking around through the corners, but he's going quickly, Jeff. He is gaining.
Yeah, we're now at lap 22 out of 36, and that's exactly what you want to be doing as this rain is continuing to, I think, pick up. We'll see if these full wets come into play. We look at the penalties right now. Domi with 3 seconds. He's just 2.4 ahead of Shenji. We'll see if Shenji is able to break that down a little bit more. Vexit has 3 seconds. Bitto with 5 seconds. We have Alp in 11th position for McLaren. He has 14 seconds. Tim, 5 seconds for him. Brain Stew with 5. Bottas Gang, Jake, Freeware all at 3 seconds. Matteo Lange has 12. And Richie in 20th has been having an unfortunate time with 6. And now we have a yellow flag as we say it. Not entirely sure what that was. I think it might have just been blue flags in some capacity for, as I said it, the Williams Richie not been having the best race.
Yeah, it would have been, I'm sure he'd have been looking for something a little bit more successful tonight, but he's still running here. And, having not retired in these conditions in a race with still 20 drivers is a busy track. He's doing well to just keep it going, and you love to see someone who doesn't give up when you've had a tricky race so far. We saw him facing the wrong way at one point, but he's kept with it. He's still soldiering on. He's within a minute of the other drivers. The fact that he's a lap down, a safety car wouldn't do too much unless he could get ahead. But the race, still, we're 2/3 of the way through. Still plenty of time for people to have a redemption arc.
One driver we haven't talked too much about in this race is Yoda. We've seen him take some wins in rain. or at the very least some podiums. Tim now under threat from the Williams. He's starting to make up some positions on this setup of his. Saw Yoda start on the hard compound tires. He was the only driver to do so, and here he is on the rear of this Haas. Are we going to see it into turn 3? No, the rain definitely picking up. We can see it in the onboard here.
Yeah, and when are wet tires going to be deployed? We've heard from the pit wall that they are expecting to get them out and fitted to these cars. The rain is heavy. The visibility is not brilliant. Yoda now a little bit of a slide coming out of turn 5, but no one seems to be particularly uncomfortable on the Inters right now. And with only 12 laps to go, it's a short track. Is anyone brave enough to just stick it out, do you think? Also worth noting, Shenjie very much closing the gap to those Ferraris. He was sort of trapped for pace, so it would seem, behind Valo, because he's extended 1.5 seconds to the Red Bull behind him. And he's closed about 7/10 to Domi ahead. So a strong force to be reckoned with is Yoda now at the inside of Tim. Down into turn 1. Oh, a little bit of contact. Tim, I think, losing an end plate there. Well, I think it might have been a braking board, actually, getting annihilated on the side of the track. But the Haas driver drops down to P14. But in these conditions, they did very well to keep both cars pointing in the right direction, Striff.
Well, Rutania is coming into the chat, giving everyone a heads up that there's been an indication that the pit window is open for full wet compound tires. And I have to say, it looks quite appetizing considering the rain. Domi and Paris, I imagine, won't be pitting at the same time. We'll see what kind of undercut can happen here, if anything.
Well, Paris was the first one to come in before for the Inters, and he hasn't chosen to come in yet. The Racing Points, they're both staying out as well, so even they who think the pit window is open right now, well, staying out for the time being. We'll see whether anyone comes in at the end of this. It's a short lap, so conditions, you'd think they wouldn't change too much here and there, but there are now very visible puddles on the side of the track, especially off of that dry line that forms after extended periods of wet weather. But this is, you know, a second pit stop in Austria for everyone isn't particularly common. Bottas gang, well, he's opted for them, Striff. He's on those full wet compounds in the Renault. He's down into 18th place as a result, but let's see what sort of pace he's got compared to Matteo, who he hasn't had the best of races. It started out strong, but he'd lost a lot of positions early on.
The wet compound tires, I definitely think we're going to see these tires in this race, but I don't know if right now is the time. You can see he's not utilizing the dry line as much coming on the exit of turn 3, but Richie is in.
Yeah. First of, you know, the leaders to come in. It's a bold move. So someone who was leading this race earlier on. The wet weather hasn't been particularly kind to him either, so I wonder whether his session... Brainstew's out. He's got it quit. It's in the pit lane, it would seem.
Yeah, that is the end of it for the Alfa Romeo.
Wets are apparently slower for the time being.
Big lockup from Richie into turn 3. Something I always talk about when the conditions come through is tire degradation in these conditions, and finding that right time to switch the tires and finding it when you have that tire wear, because sometimes it can be the tire wear making you think, hey, it's time. You go into the fresh wets and then you're just sitting there and you don't have any pace. That is something I've seen happen, so it could just be that these inners are starting to die out.
I mean, 10 laps. Oh, Alex Bitter getting very close to the rear of Vector as they come into the pit lane. So a lot of drivers opting for them. Shenjie. We were concerned that his setup was going to be... Oh my goodness, the Ferraris are fighting. Ferraris.
Yeah, Paris being taken by his teammate right now. They're having a drag race into turn 4 right now, and this is not what they want to do even remotely with Shenji on the rear of them.
Yeah, Shenji's been gaining, and now they're side by side. This isn't what I would be wanting if I was sitting on that Ferrari pit wall. They are literally side by side, unless they're trying to create a rolling roadblock. As Tim's out.
As these two are fighting, there has been an issue. I'm not entirely sure where. It looks like the final turn. There is a Haas sitting outside the final turn. There is a safety car deployed in this race. And this is going to be huge for a few drivers on this grid. I look at Richie. I look at Biddo here. Maybe Richie more so than Biddo, but there is a massive, massive amount of positions.
Valu's staying out.
Oh.
And Domi's going to get double stacked.
I don't know about that with Valu. I don't know about that with Valu.
Domi's lost a lot of position, Striff. Let's see, how many is it? It's at least 2. Yeah, 2 positions as a result of that double stack. For going for such a monumental lead to being behind Shenji and Milan, with that 3-second time penalty, this stage of the race, Domi, this is crushing for the Ferrari.
I think this is actually starting to pan out as crushing for a few drivers on the
Shenji went to fresh inters.
Well, so did Sindako and Dayson, and I was just going to bring this up. Vexit did as well. Yoda did as well. They're feeling like the intermediate tires are okay, and that could be a big game changer come this restart if they happen to be faster.
Well, Shenji was gaining on those inters big time, so he looked comfortable under them. So if it was, tire wear, and he's got brilliant tire management right now, and that's what allowed him to gain on the 2 Ferraris on the previous one. We saw him battle with Valu, because either way, Shenji right now is faster than Valu in P1, guaranteed.
Well, Valu was struggling monumentally on these intermediate compound tires. Now he's opted to stay out on a worn set of them, with an entire grid of fresh rubber runners behind him, and I do not believe this was a good idea.
Well, penalties right now with a late safety car could play a role in things. Domi 3 seconds, Vexit 3 seconds. That's it for the top 10. Jake, he's got 3 seconds in 12th, who's just been passed. Oh, he's into the pit lane. So Alp 12 seconds, Bottas Gang 3, Matteo 12 seconds, Freeware 3, and Richie 3 as well, down in 18th place. But this has got very interesting. A lot of people have opted for those intermediate compound tires. Both the Racing Points, Dayson. Everyone was saying that, in the chat, it was, the opinion was that the wets were slower. It's on that crossover shift. This is, it's pretty much half and half. I think we've got, 5, 6, 7, 8 drivers on the wets, 10 on the inters. And if you want to call it, Valu was undecided because he didn't come into the pits at all. And with the safety car still out here, it might not have been the worst decision in the world. But it depends how fast those wets are. It really does.
I think he's made a big mistake. That's all I'm going to say on that. I think that staying out in any capacity was a big mistake. It doesn't matter the tire, just staying out is going to hurt him here.
Well, the safety car's going around again. Well, 5 laps of green flag racing. So that's about, in these conditions, it's longer than 5 minutes, probably closer to about 8. But these drivers, they've got their work cut out for them. There's going to be a lot of position changes. I think we're going to have our work cut out, Striff, with this one going down to the wire because, this tire difference. The likes of Sindaku, Dayson, Vexit, if those inters are in fact faster, they could be on for a lot more points than they've got tallied up now.
Looking at all these tires, and it's just inner wet, wet, inner wet. Like, it is just all spread out throughout. And these inners, I look at Yoda. He might be able to get himself some points after having started on those hards. It would be crazy for him, I think, to get those points. Valu in first now will lead the safety car restart, as the safety car has indicated, race control has indicated that it is going to be coming in. Real quick, massive shout out to our partners, Next Level Racing. Thank you so much to them. And of course, you can check them out via their website in the chat in the panels down below. And I'd like to give an even greater shout out to Mr. Darian Alfie for coming through with a raid. Thank you so much, Darian. It's good to see you, and I hope you're well. And thank you for coming through. We're just about to watch a restart here in Austria, Unicorn. Take it away.
Yeah, Valu holding things as they come through the last couple of corners. It's pretty popular to just send it out of the last one. He does, hammers down, and he's got a good start. Paris sort of reacted well enough. Valu with a... He's caught Shenjay Milan. It's because of that last corner, because these guys have to navigate their way around that last turn. They can't full throttle when the leader does. That's what's costing them here. But is it the wets? And it looks like with the pace Milan has on the rear of Shenjay, it might be full wet conditions. He's going to have a look on the inside, down into turn 3. The Haas not quite finding the space, and Domi also on those wet tires finds his way around the outside of the Haas. He lost the position to the double stack. Milan, well, he's lost out to Sindako as well, so maybe the wets aren't the conditions. It seems pretty even right now between the two compounds. Behind them, Richie, he's looking up the inside of Dayson through turn 4. The McLaren just squeezing the Alfa Romeo. Grip is not at an all-time high, and they've let through Vexit and Bitto. And Bitto and Vexit, they've been following each other through a lot of moves today, Striff.
Well, that was very sketchy there between Dayson and Richie. Dayson getting that rear tire of Richie a bit, almost causing a spin for that McLaren. Richie right now threw out a turn 8 with a big snap from both Richie and Dayson to try and avoid it. This is still very intense between this Alfa Romeo and McLaren, and they are on the different tires. The rain is coming down heavily. I think I see lightning almost. I don't know if it's just the raindrops on this onboard camera, but the graphics, I mean, they're doing pretty good right now. We look at Dayson up the inside into turn 1. The inner is showing him some traction. I don't know what tires are the best right now.
Well, Striff, I'll tell you what, Valu's held on to P1 right now. He's got a few laps left to hold it off, but he's doing pretty well right now. Yoda, you were saying he was one to watch, and well, here we are around the outside watching him overtake Magnetar. The wet's not working out for the Renault driver. The Williams holding it down the outside towards turn 4. They switch positions as they come into the 4th turn, and it is Yoda ahead as Jake. He's on the Inters as well. Can he find the Renault? It does seem that the Inters are the faster tyre after a few laps now. Back on the green flag conditions, if we can even call it that, with the torrential rain we are experiencing here. It's not quite the worst we've ever seen, but it could be better for these drivers, that's for sure. Vexit still on the rear of Alex Bitter, and these guys have been going tooth and nail for the entire campaign, and now the Racing Point looking to find a way past the intermediates in his favor. His penalty situation, though, definitely not.
Here goes Yoda now on the inside of Jeff Ritchie through into turn 1. Yoda now into the points paying positions for 10th. Sindako on the rear of Domi as we come into turn 3, just ahead of them. There's Paris and Shenjay fighting. Yeah, through turn 3 now. Paris holding that second position. This is going to give Valu an exit to break away here. We're on lap 34. Paris, Shenjay, a drag race down into turn 4 here. Shenjay's going to get second position. Domi not close enough to his teammate to do anything with Sindako up his inside. Sindako in that Racing Point is going to take 4th position away from Domi here. And this race is just the race that keeps on giving these conditions now. Valu, 8/10 the gap. He's on 18-lap-old intermediate tires. There is a puncture risk, I have been told. Will he make it to the end? Will he win this race?
Well, he was doing well to hold off Paris, but Paris is on the wets. They are not the tire to be on right now. Who's he got behind him now, though? Shenjay. We've seen them come together multiple times this race. Shenjay's overtaken him twice. Once issue 3, the other, well, it was a little bit more controversial. Now the AlphaTauri, whichever tire you think is faster, the intermediates or the wets, they're both on the Inters, which seem to be faster. Shenjay's are 14 laps younger. So surely he's got the pace advantage. He's been absolutely crushing gaps all race. The problem he has is that there's only 1.5 to go in this one as they come down into turn 3, one of the most popular overtaking spots. We've seen a lot of action here. Vexit, Milan, the Racing Point. These guys have been on a real charge. Vexit and Sindaku. Vexit does have that penalty to his name though, so it could cost him. Shenjay still hunting down the Red Bull of Value for the lead of things on the penultimate lap. And this is all going to come down to the checkered flag. Nothing will be decided until they cross that line at the end of things. And right now, I think anyone would be tough to call a winner.
Jake, Magnetar fighting through turn 4 right now. Freewer on the rear of them with Bottas, Gang Mateo, everybody in that train. And they've all been fighting through turns 1, 3, now 4. We see Magnetar still on the rear of Jake with Freeware now looking at him up the inside. He's going to get this move done on the Renault. What a move from Freeware up the inside in these conditions.
Yeah, very nicely done. Both Renaults now next to each other, and the wets really haven't worked out for Magnetar, that's for sure. Shenjay now. The last lap of this race, Striff. You love to see it coming down to the last lap, and Valu is still ahead. This strategy, it looked like it wasn't going to work out, but the Red Bull's done a brilliant job so far. Shenjay fakes it to the inside, looks to the outside. Can he find a way around? Valu's giving him another squeeze. Paris finds Sindaku for P3. Shenjay, Valu, they're battling and can bring the Ferrari into things. Sindaku as well. He's still on the rear of Paris. Can he slingshot himself into the battle? If Shenjay and Valu have another issue, it's the Racing Point around the outside of the Ferrari through turn 4. Now turn 5. Paris just giving Sindaku as little space as he can get away with, and he holds onto P3 for now. Excellent racing from these guys in tricky conditions. But my goodness, Valu just holding on to things at the lead of it. He's sliding a little bit. Shenjay, a big snap. He's wobbling all over the place. Overtake enabled. Can he find it? Down into turn 9. He's not going to lunge for it. He'll take P2 over a crash for both of them. Through the final corner. Can he get a better exit on the fresher tires? He can't. He's enabling overtake just a little early. Valu takes it by 3/10. Paris takes P3 behind Shenjay. Sindaku, Milan, your top 5. Bito, Daisa, Domi, Vexit, Yoda, the top 10. What a race, Schiff.
That was a fantastic race, a fantastic finish. I think Valu, hell, he is going to have to be happy with that one. That was an extremely, extremely intense race. I am very much looking forward to talking to all 3 of the podium finishers. We'll have words from them in just a few seconds, but wow. That was such a great race to watch. We had dry conditions, inner conditions, full wet conditions. We had the safety car. We had so much battling. It was a fantastic race from my perspective, and I just hope everyone enjoyed that one.
Well, I don't see how you couldn't unless you're one of these drivers that it didn't work out for. That was absolutely incredible, and these 3 right here, very, very well-deserved podium. A very hard-fought race. Valu, again, on top of things from P2. It went from a good start to a very, very unfortunate run into the gravel trap, and he still managed to come out on top. What a drive from him. And, well, that helps him close down Paris for lead. I think Shenjay, P3 in the standings, P2 in this race. The top 3, just a shuffled version of the top 3 in the driver's standings. Sindaku from 15th to 4th. What a drive from him in Milan. 5th, Bito in 6th in the Mercedes. Dason 7th. Domi in 8th. Vexit in 9th. Yoda rounds out the top 10. A nice point for the Williams there from 16th on the grid. Then we have Richie from pole to 11th. Did not go his way. Magnetar in 12th. Freeware in 13th. Bottas Gang reserving for Renault. Picks up 14th place. Freeware with the fastest lap, a 1:05.2. Jake 15th place in Tier 1. Not quite able to score points for Red Bull, but given that he's Tier 2 driver, a valiant effort. Matteo 16th. Alp in 17th. Richie in 18th. Tim and Brainsuit, the only 2 retirements from all of that. And, well, Striff, that was just incredible.
Being told we will not be hearing from Shenjay for interview today. He is unfortunately unable to. But I do believe Valu will be available. We're just going to see if we can get Paris as well.
Well, it'll most certainly be interesting to talk to at least Paris and Valu, P3 and P1. They've both had very, very dynamic races. Paris, obviously, climbing up from P9 on the grid to take P3 at the end of things. Certainly helping his championship charge and, well, Tier 1 World Drivers Champion, who does not want that title on them. Thank you very much to Vexit for raiding. Thank you very much for the support, and obviously everyone else joining in at home. The poll has just come back. The answer being no there, and I think Jean, 38,000 channel points. So congratulations to you and everyone else. But
well, Paris is with us. Yeah, Paris, congratulations. This race, to say the least, was an amazing race. I think Unicorn can agree with me. I don't think anyone expected this race to go the way it went coming into it. You finished this race in third. You had an undercut for the ages, I'm going to say. Battle with your teammate. Torrential conditions at the end. Why don't we get your take on it?
Oh man, where do I start really? I thought after qualifying I was pretty much going to be out of fight. Well, out of the fight for the win. And so during the first stint, me and my engineer Mark, we sort of didn't want to get double stacks because we know the rain's coming, and the moment it starts hitting, obviously it slowly gets wetter and wetter and wetter. And it's reaching that, like on lap 14, it reached that point where I was just like, if Domi doesn't pit, then I'm going to pit. And then it just sort of is what it is, because you don't want to go out one lap too late. So we managed to get that insane undercut, come out in the lead. Had pretty good pace on the wets. We were pulling away from everyone but Domi, which is the world record holder. That's not too bad. At the end, it just came down to that 50-50 on the tire choice.
The tires in this race, they played such a role. We had this late safety car, which was seemingly an opportunity for everybody to get onto wet compound tires. We saw Valu stay out on intermediates. We saw so much shuffling in this race. And just how was it for you to be in the lead for a great stint? To come out, you got third. It was a crazy qualifying. Just what does it feel like in this one, getting third after such a dynamic race?
Well, you can't be too mad about it, really. Although I was in the lead for the majority of the race, I didn't really feel like I had the pace to lead the race anyway. So I'm pretty pleased with that. All things considered, started P9, and it could have been, but there's so many other races that could be as well, and you just got to take it on the chin, go the rest of the season.
Next week, Silverstone, round 12. How are you looking for the British Grand Prix, Paris?
Not too bad. It's not one of my favorite tracks for like racing, but I guess we'll just play about 20 laps to follow the leader.
All right. Well, thank you so much, and congratulations on the third place finish today. It was a crazy race, and we'll see you hopefully next week.
Thank you, man.
Okay. Joining us now, after we've already talked about how torrential and dynamic the race was, I don't think that can be said any more so for anyone other than yourself, Valu. Welcome to the commentary booth. I'm going to give you a congratulations and let Unicorn have at you, but I just wanted to say I had you not winning this race given that strategy call at the end, but you definitely shut my mouth.
Well, Valu, again, huge congratulations. What a race. So we've had you here multiple times on the commentary booth, but it's finally the top spot. 7th podium, first win. How does it feel?
Feels nice. I didn't expect that after like lap 3 when I got bumped by Chenche. And then I just did a boring race in train, and somehow my strategy worked at the end. I don't know how.
Well, I think, that lap 3 incident is worth touching on. Chenche, we saw him. He looked a little bit unstable. You're two side by side. You came together multiple times during that race, obviously coming out of turn 6. You just going into the gravel, managed to save it, rejoin the track. At that point in the race, you didn't drop too many positions. What were your, hopes? What was your plan going forwards with the rest of that race after that moment?
I was actually just asking the weather every lap, because if the rain was like far away, it would be OP to undercut mediums. But then Paris overtook me, and the rain was like just around the corner. So I just decided to do whatever Paris does, and we got like 6 people undercut on the inters.
Yeah, well, that undercut really worked out for you, and it wasn't the only time that the pit lane really worked out for you. Striff touched on it before. Staying out at the end on those worn inters, you know, you'd done a fair amount of battling on them. They were really old, but you still chose to stay out on them. It looked like it wasn't going to work. You even had people pitting for fresh intermediates as well as wet tyres. What was your decision process with that one? There was 5 laps of green flag racing to go. How did you come about the decision? And, well, it worked out for you.
Yeah, a big part of my decision was the laps, because in the rain it's so hard to overtake if the guy ahead has any errors. And for 5 laps, I can just spam every straight, even if I have 70% tires. So I knew if I can just keep it on track and not get my final warning, since I was on 2, I could win.
Aaron, before we move on to the future, was there any risk of punctures? A few people were worried about it in the chat. We spoke about it a couple of times here in the commentary booth. Were you ever worried that your tyres were going to burst at the end of that one?
No, because we drove so slow behind the safety car. If there was no safety car, then maybe.
Well, again, huge congratulations for this one. Silverstone next week. Obviously, the championship is still very much in your grasp. This one really closes you up to Paris. How are you looking towards next week in the championship as a whole?
Yeah, I really like Silverstone, and I think I have a pretty good pace there, so I'm going for double win.
Well, you've definitely shown the consistency to be on the podium multiple times. You've got the first win under the belt. There's no reason why you can't do it again next week. Valu, thanks for taking the time to come and interview with us here as per usual. And again, huge congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
Well, that wraps up interviews, ladies and gentlemen, and that wraps up Tier 1 action for Round 11, Austria. I thoroughly enjoyed that race. I thought it was a lot of fun. It's pretty well exactly what I wanted for the weather conditions, in all honesty. Things didn't change over quite as quick as I think some people had anticipated with some of those early wet tire switches. The wets actually never really came into the proper pace. We just heard from Valu, of course, who stayed out on the worn inters and made it the whole distance with a fantastic win here. So that is it for me. Of course, my name is Striffy. I'm here from Canada. And, well, just a massive shout out to our fantastic partners, Next Level Racing. Before I hand it off to you, Unicorn, just check them out, of course, on their website, in the chat via the link, and of course on the panels down below for some awesome sim racing gear and rigs on their website. Unicorn, that's it for me, my friend, for after that awesome race.
Yeah, well, that was, you wrapped it up nicely there. A brilliant race, and it's what a week we've had coming back. Obviously, we had the Easter break last week, but we've come back. It's been, just one hell of a race week. It's not over. Sunday, you can join myself and Seb. We'll be commentating the APAC division, the final full F1 grid we'll have here going around the Red Bull Ring, as well as myself and Alex Biddo for F2. That's 1:30 p.m. CET for all of our European friends for APAC, and then it'll be 9:30 in the evening for F2. And obviously all information about those races, any other upcoming races, as well as community events, it can be found on our Discord. The link is in the chat, as well as our YouTube page for all of the race replays and highlights. And I think there's going to be a hell of a lot of them after the racing week we've had so far here at Austria. But yeah, a huge shout out to everyone in the chat for watching along. We hope you enjoyed it. We're going to hit you with the outro now before rating a member of the F1 community. But thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.